Welcome to another Photoshoot breakdown. My name is Eugene from Workerbee Supply. We're a creative video and photo production studio here in beautiful Toronto, and I'm so excited today to walk you through making this image. This sort of cool exploding food shot is really popular, but it can be a little intimidating to approach, but I'll tell you a secret. It's actually pretty easy. So why don't you come along, I'm gonna take you on the shoot with me. We're gonna go through that whole process of collecting all the pieces we need to make this beautiful image. And then we're gonna dive into Lightroom and Photoshop, and I'm gonna take you through that process of actually bringing it to life. All right, let's get into it. Now, before we bust out the camera, let's go over a few items that we're gonna need to gather to make sure our shoot is a success. At its core for the shot, you're gonna need some sort of platform that you'll be able to raise little by little in order to get each layer at the correct height. For my actual platform, I'm gonna use a piece of glass from a frame, but be very careful when handling this because the edges can be very sharp and you don't wanna hurt yourself. Now, you can use a piece of foam core or a piece of cardboard or wood, but having a transparent surface is really nice because it lets light through the bottom and also won't create a color cast or bounce light onto the bottom of the items that you're photographing. So we're gonna use a piece of glass. You choose your own adventure. Next up, we're gonna need something to basically raise this piece of glass in a controlled manner. Now, I have these fancy machinist blocks that can actually screw onto the arms of the C-stand, but if you just have a stack of books or a stack of wooden blocks, that works just as well. You're just gonna kind of have to build it up and maybe have a little bit less control, but honestly, not a big deal. Don't let this stop you. Now, those are just the technical items we'll need, but we won't actually see those in the photos, so the things that we will see, we also need to gather, and that includes a plate, our ingredients, and of course, a surface to shoot on. I wanted a bright, summery, colorful image, so I went with a bolder tablecloth. Now here's a tip, whenever you're shooting a product of any kind, whether it's food or something like made out of plastic or metal or anything really, make sure you have a few variations of the same product because there will be small differences between them, kind of scuffs, scratches, maybe just like not as nice if it's a food item. And basically you wanna be able to kind of look through a bunch of items and pick the best one because there will be a best one. And you don't wanna have to spend time in Photoshop kind of like fixing certain food items when you could have just swapped it out to begin with. I'm gonna start by dropping the first slice of bread onto the plate just to help with positioning the camera and kind of getting my composition set up. Make sure to leave a bit room on the top of your image because your stack is gonna grow height-wise. But essentially, once you've got that lined up, it's time to take your first shot. And at this stage, it's important to get all your exposures and focus and everything into alignment because you really don't wanna move your camera or your focus too much after you take the first shot because we're gonna comp everything together. Now we're gonna shoot the bottom slice of bread and we're gonna just need to get it a little bit of height above the plate. So just put the blocks or spacers you have as low as you can and grab that first image. Afterwards, we're gonna move on to the lettuce. So we're gonna just switch the orientation of the blocks to give us a little bit more height and grab that. After this, we're gonna need quite a bit more height than my blocks at least will provide. Maybe what you're using is different. But I'm gonna use my C-stands with the machinist blocks attached to them, and this will make it really easy to slowly raise the platform. Now, if you don't have C-stands, please don't sweat it. Just stack something that you have around the house to get the right height. After this, we're gonna grab the ham, but basically we're gonna do the same thing for every image. Move it up a little bit, shoot it, move it up a little bit, shoot it. Time for a montage. Once we're all the way at the top of our stack, let's finish up by shooting a plate or a blank plate, and we can cheat our ingredients into the shot to make the composition a bit more interesting and add depth. Now, whenever you're shooting composite images, you really want to make sure that you shoot a clean plate. Make sure you do it because it'll save you so much time down the line and it'll give you a lot more flexibility when combining all the ingredients together. And that's it for the shoot portion. It's actually pretty simple as long as you develop a pretty good system for kind of like incrementally increasing your platform height. But with that said, we have everything we need to make this image come to life. So what we're gonna do is dive into Lightroom and get the images ready for compositing. Before we start working on the images, I just wanna give a quick thank you to my father, Val Siknenko, who actually shot all of the B-roll you just saw in the shoot portion of this video. He has his own YouTube channel called Diver's Lens, where he goes to some incredible places around the world and goes scuba diving and takes you underneath the water to some amazing dive sites and shows you animals and places you've never seen before. Definitely check it out and give him a sub. I've linked to a few of my favorite videos down in the description below. So I've selected one of every ingredient in the stack. When I shot this, we used natural light, but the conditions didn't change like I mentioned, so our exposure should be fairly consistent. I'm gonna pull up my main base image here of the blank plate and make some general adjustments. Now, I'm tweaking the image a bit to make it brighter, punchier, more colorful. You know my whole vibe. I'm also gonna turn on lens correction, and once I have it in a happy space, and remember, this is just the start. We will edit the image a lot more in the end. I'm gonna sync the edits across all of the images and open them as layers in Photoshop. Once all the images have loaded, do yourself a favor and rename all the layers. Honestly, this will save you so much time and confusion. And also, if you ever crack open this file a year later, you're actually gonna know what the heck is going on. That's all. So, what are we gonna do now? It's time to mask all the ingredients from the background. That's right, this seems like it'll be really hard, but we're actually gonna use the quick selection tool in this instance, and it's gonna save us a lot of time. You may still have to tweak the mask as you go, but at least with my ingredients and the background, this worked really well for me, which brings me to another important note. There are a million ways to do everything in Photoshop. So, I'm showing you one way to cut something out, but that doesn't mean it's the best way for your image or your situation. Really, depending on what you're doing, it's gonna be different tools that you need to kind of make things efficient and look their best. So this is a way to do it. This is not the way to do it. There's a million ways to do everything, and there's no real wrong way as long as you're happy with the final result. So now that we have all our items cut out, our image is really starting to come together. Now we're gonna tweak the position of each item to make everything spaced out a little bit better. As I'm doing this, I'm also starting to use liquify on some of the items to give them more of a free-flowing, floating feel. Wow, that was a mouthful. It took like 7 takes, but damn was it worth the alliteration. I'm just gonna do this by feel and overall make the shapes a bit more organic. Now we're getting there, but it's still looking a little odd, and the next thing we're gonna tackle is the shadows. To create these, I'm basically copying the selection of each item and filling it in with black on its own layer. Then I'm bringing down the opacity and I'm going to lock the shadow mask to the item below it so it doesn't spill beyond the thing it's casting a shadow onto. And as I'm doing this, I'm also playing with the position of everything, just like continuing to tweak and get it all in the right place. At this stage, I kind of feel like this onion stack is a bit too much, so I'm gonna remove it all together since this is not a client project and I can do whatever I want. Now I'm gonna go in and do a secondary darker shadow a bit further into the sandwich. The basic idea is that there's less light entering into the middle area of the sandwich, so the shadow should be a bit darker there. My main goal with this video is to show you the process of how to create these kind of photos, not to create some sort of award-winning final image. So I would give myself maybe a 2 out of 5 on the amount of effort I put into creating these shadows. But if this is a client project or a project you want to use in your portfolio, definitely spend more time on it. I spent about an hour in post-production on this image, but you can easily spend several hours tweaking and fine-tuning every last detail of it. So I really encourage you to do that for your final images. This is just kind of showing you the path. Now this is starting to feel like it's in a good spot. I'm gonna do a more accurate crop of the image. Now I'll add some global adjustments, clipping the highlights and shadows a little bit. I think I'll selectively darken some of the areas that are feeling a little too bright right now. And as I'm looking at this, I want more of a warmer late summer look. So I'm gonna add a sunny haze to the image and bring it in from the top right and mask out the sandwich a bit since it wouldn't be spilling onto the front of it. Next, I'm gonna add an additional contrast curve. I'm gonna darken some more of the image. I'm gonna do some more light cleanup of little crumbs and things like that. Then I'm gonna create a new layer with everything below flattened into it. I'm gonna add a bit of noise to it, add a lens flare, and then I'm gonna recrop everything a little bit, brightening and darkening some final areas, and ta-da, we're done. So what do you think of this final image? I really love how it turned out, and I love this kind of photography, kind of starting with a blank slate and slowly building it up on the shoot day and then diving into Photoshop and really bringing all the elements together. I think it turned out really cool. So if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please share it, give it a thumbs up, and leave us a comment down below. And if you yourself try to make one of these images, I would love to know. Send us a DM on Instagram. We're at WorkerBeeSupply. And of course, if you want more of these product photography breakdowns, we got a whole bunch on the channel. So make sure you hit subscribe, go back, check out our product grid photo shoot, our floating products cluster. We like a lot of floating things, what can I say? And yeah, like I said, hit subscribe. We're releasing more videos. We got a bunch shot already that are in production, and I can't wait to share them with you. Thanks a lot for checking us out. My name is Eugene from Worker Bee Supply, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Bye.